Chapter 15. Anybody remember how we got here? Going all the way back to the beginning. Thing is very near to you. Well, that's nice. I don't feel that way. I don't know if I'm on board with this. And why are you making it seem so simple? It's not so simple. Okay, let me tell you what you're made out of. This is the way you function. You got the two souls, and they have competing interests. They work the same way. Theoretically, they have the same capacities. But because they want different things, they go in different directions. And that's how you struggle, because your souls, they have competing interests. You want to do things that are not aligned. And your whole job is to try to align the two souls. Specifically, bring the Nefesh HaBahamis, the animal soul, in line with the Nefesh HaElokis. Then we actually went through, if someone does put everything in line, well, that's a tzaddik. If someone does not put everything in line, or if they align it the wrong way, well, that's a rasha. And someone who's struggling to keep the alignment every day. Because if you let go for a second, they're going to go back into their separate directions. That's the Beinoni. The Beinoni is the one who every single day has to battle to keep the alignment in place. The Tzaddik has the alignment in place. He doesn't have to battle it every day. He's on the next part of service. The Beinoni has to every day get back in line, get back in line. He's got to battle that every day, which is why he's not a Tzaddik, because he still has to take care of it. He's not a rasha either, because it doesn't actually misalign. He doesn't actually go in with the wrong alignment. Then we went through all the details of what it means to be Beinoni. Now we're at a very, very important chapter, this chapter 15, and it starts with a verse, a pasuk from Malachi. It says, You will return and you'll see the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha, and between a servant of God, someone who serves God, and someone who doesn't serve God. Any questions? It seems redundant. Why are you saying someone who's a tzaddik? Isn't that someone who serves God? And then a rasha, isn't that someone who doesn't serve God? Torah is very exact. It doesn't waste words. Very specific in the word choice. Why do we have this redundancy? So the Alter Rebbe takes us now for this chapter of Tanya, and he says, it's not a redundancy, because Shaftim Reisim ben tzaddik v'rasha, we know what tzaddik and a rasha, we know what those are. Then Oved Elokim lashar lo avadu, now we're talking about two levels of a Beinoni. Well, obviously there's multiple levels of Beinoni. Everything, there's multiple gradations and stages. But in this, there's two kind of main categories of a Beinoni. What are the two categories? An Oved Elokim and a lo avadu. He who serves God and he who serves him not. Well, that seems an interesting thing, because why would you say a Beinoni is someone who does not serve God? How is he a Beinoni then? So what is the distinction that we're trying to create here? By the way, a side thing, I don't know if you've ever looked into it before, but the shurish of avoda, we all know means work. When we talk about divine service, we use the word avoda also, not just for like manual labor, but we use it for serving God. Service of the heart, serving God, all that kind of stuff we use the word avoda for. So the root word of it comes from orat avudim, which means tanning hides. Animal skins, and you got to tan it to make it something that's usable. The root word of the word avoda, because it's something that you're breaking a sweat for it. You are working hard. You got to tan your hide, basically. You got to work really hard. That's the root word of the word avoda. So when we talk about someone who serves God and someone who serves him not, how do we have this distinction here? It would seem a Beinoni is also someone who's serving God. Where's this distinction? The distinction comes in the verb tenses. An Oved Elokim means that he's presently engaged, specifically with great effort engaged in this battle. A lo avadu is still a Beinoni. He is not presently engaged in the battle. But we're going to go into the differences between these two kind of people. First, we quickly have the distinction of, this is different than talking about a tzaddik. A tzaddik, you'd have an Oved Elokim, which would be the Beinoni, and then you'd have an Eved Elokim. Eved Elokim is a servant of God. Eved Elokim is a tzaddik. Oved Elokim is someone who is presently working in the service of God. Again, we're making distinctions here. So now let's look at the two types of the Beinoni. You have one type of Beinoni that is a Beinoni because it's the natural state that they were in. As in, there are certain people that exist in the world that certain temptations just don't do it for them. It's not a challenge for them to not give in to certain temptations. Across the board, whatever that may be. So that could be someone who food is not a temptation for them. They exist, these people. They're not drinking, they're not chasing women, they're not doing any of that kind of stuff. It's not a temptation for them. It's not difficult for them to stay on the right path. But again, they're not a tzaddik because the Nefesh HaBahamis is still there. They haven't conquered the Nefesh HaBahamis, definitely not to turn it to another Nefesh HaElokis, but they haven't specifically conquered the Nefesh HaBahamis. It's just not where the passion center is for them. Often, it's not only, but it's often we think of them as more dispassionate, intellectual types almost. They're happy to just sit in their books all day. The outside world, it doesn't call to them. So this guy's a Beinoni because he doesn't sin, but there's not an active service on himself that is occurring right now. He's kind of a Beinoni by a default stage. He kind of got into the category just because you haven't sinned, that's why you're a Beinoni. You're not tanning your hide, is basically why it's lo avadu versus an Oved Elokim. This is also someone who can also work to become a Beinoni to the point that they've made it second nature for them. Now that it's become Tevasheni and I've made it a second nature, and now I'm safely in the Beinoni category. But it doesn't mean the present tense. Right now, I'm not working toward it. There are some people who are very happy to sit in kollel and learn all day long. They love it. It's so great for them. But that doesn't make them a tzaddik. Because a tzaddik implies a certain level of internal self-refinement. You don't transgress because there's no temptation in the outside world, but that your nefesh habahamis is still fully there. Or you could have someone who's worked enough on themselves. They're in business for 40 years, and then after a certain point, they're like, you know what? I'm going to retire. I'm going to go to call all day. I'm like, hey, I actually like it here. I'm sitting in yeshiva all day long. I'm happy to study all day long. I'm not chasing after things. Maybe they're younger than that. I don't know. But the point is, it's not an active service that's occurring. It's a default stage. It's a passive level of Beinoni. That's why it's called a lo avadu. Because right now, you're not actively working on it. You've gone to the level, you've gone to position, reached the next ledge, you're just hanging out of there. It's static. That's lo avadu. We compare this to someone who's reached the level of 100%. Back in the day, when not everyone got a copy of the text and you couldn't just go onto Amazon or whatever to order your book, what do you have to do? You have to repeat the learning multiple times to make sure you memorized it. So how many times did you do that? You did that 100 times. Oh, 100 times is so many. Yeah, but we all did it 100 times. It's a lot and it's work, but that's considered the norm. You've reached the level of scholar because you repeat 100 times. Not everybody's a scholar, but you've repeated 100 times, you're at the level of scholar. That's one stage of the Beinoni, that's the lo avadu. You're not actively working at this. So it's your natural state or it's trained to become second nature. It's automatic for you to be at this level. It's automatic for you to refrain from sin, temptation, desires. You're not actively engaged in it. True story, I once spoke with someone. He's a very, very, very disciplined kind of person. So it's also like that. Some people are just very disciplined. It's not a thing for them. I once said to him, I was like, it doesn't make sense. There has to be something. There has to be one thing in the world that would go after that. Also, food was just not a thing. I'm like, I don't understand. So he told me, I had one thing. Peanut butter. If I would open up a jar of peanut butter, I'd eat the whole thing. And because I didn't want to do that anymore, I went cold turkey on peanut butter. I have not touched peanut butter in 20 years. Holy canasta. True story. That would be training to second nature. I see that if I start the jar of peanut butter, I eat the whole thing. So instead, I just went cold turkey on the peanut butter. And because I haven't eaten in 20 years, I don't need a jar of peanut butter anymore. For someone who gets to that stage, as far as a Beinoni goes, that's lo avadu. Now, we have something that we'd call it the nurtured state. The new state that we're going to reach. We're calling it a nurtured state, but someone who's in an active state is really what it is. He's still a passionate person, etc., but is in an active state of an Oved Elokim. He's someone who reviews 101 times. Why 101? Well, because everybody, 100 is considered the norm. I'm going to do one step more. This is an active thing that I have to do now. And if anybody's ever worked out, they're like, give us 10 push-ups. Okay, we can do, we do the 10 push-ups. Maybe not for everybody 10 push-ups. 50 push-ups, fine. We get through the 50 push-ups. And then the trainer's like, and now give me one more. Are you crazy? No, I'm not giving you one more. It is only one. What's the big deal? Sure, it's only one numerically, but it's not only one psychologically. It's not only one physically, because you're now asking me 50 I could do. My mind was prepared for 50. Focus on 50 and I got 50 done. Now you want me to do one more? Well, now that's something else for me. That requires something else from me. It's only one, but I have to give more of myself to give you that one. That is why that person is considered an Oved Elokim. And it actually says, this is the perfect complete service of a Beinoni. Not just to be a Beinoni by default, but to be the Beinoni who does one more. The Alter Rebbe actually brings in the example of, brought it in the Gemara. It's the Mashal Meshuk Shel Chamorim, the example of the donkey drivers. Back in the day, when you had to get a package, the original FedEx was a bunch of donkeys going in a caravan across the desert. The camel drivers. 10 parsas, which is about 1.2 miles. 10 parsa would be about 12 miles. Used to cost you 1 zuz. You want to get from here to here? Check out our new rates. 10 parsa, that's 1 zuz. You want to go 11 parsa? Well, that's 2 zuz. No. That doesn't make sense. We got to do the math on this. If 10 parsas is 1 zuz, so that means it should be at 1.1 zuz. It should be a tenth of a zuz more. Because I'm only asking you to go 1 more mile. 10 parsa is 1 zuz. 20 parsa is 2 zuz. How come 11 parsas is 2 zuz? Because 11 parsa, now you asked me to go beyond what the set route was. And going beyond the set route is not just like, oh, it's just another mile. Just go another mile. No. We have the set route. You want us to do something exceptional. You want me to do something different. But it's only 1 more parsa. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's only 1 more mile. It is not the set route. It is something else, different, exceptional. It's only 1 more time. That 1 more is considered equal to everything. Doing 1 more than what you're used to, it's only 1, but it's considered the same as everything you've done until now. That is the weight and the value of doing 1 step more is worth. Because you've done more than what your habit is, what your nature is. That's basically this chapter. Basic idea that we could take from this. Obviously, we have the general idea of what this means for the Beinoni. The Beinoni's whole level, it's not just a matter of what I was born with or how I was born. It's a matter of, can I go beyond what my nature is? Can I take what my nature is? Can I take the little cocktail of everything that I'm made up of and do something besides for what's expected? Can I do something besides for what my default setting would be? Well, Tanya tells you, yes, you can, and that's what we want you to do by being a Beinoni. Just because you want one thing, you can act in contradiction to what you actually want, which goes very much in the face of everything that modern culture is about. But I really want this. I know, but this is not for you. So you don't have it. Or I don't want to go there. I know, but you gotta go. So you show up. There are a lot of times where you say, I'm not interested in talking to this person right now. And somehow you figure out how to be polite to them. I don't want to go to the party right now. And you still show up. You get dressed and you show up. That's not being your true self. Oh, no, it's being a better version of yourself, actually. It is a much better version of yourself because your true self is in a grumpy mood. And we don't want the cranky pants you. We want the best you. Even if you are feeling cranky and grumpy and you're not in the mood. The better self turns up when you do what you don't want to do. Again, that's the whole thing of Tanya. But I really want this, but don't have it. No, but this is what I want. How could I not give myself what I want? How could you not? You could exercise your extraordinary soul powers that you have, and you can say no to your own self. Imagine what that's going to look like. Try it. You'll like it. Or maybe you won't. You'll still be a better self. That we have for Beinoni. But something we could take for ourselves on our journey to becoming Beinoni, the long, short path that we're taking. We all have our 100% that we've made ourselves comfortable with. Even if it's something we exert ourselves with, we have our 100%. Someone goes running, they're running 5 miles a day, they're going to sweat, it's hard. 5 miles, how do you run 5 miles? Well, I just go and I get it done, I'm used to it. This is my 100% that I've made for myself, to run 5 miles. Well, when I try to run 6, no. 6 miles, shut off. We don't do the 6 miles, we do the 5 miles. What's the difference? It's only one more mile. How fast you run depends. If you're running an 8-minute mile, a 9-minute mile, even a 10-minute mile, it's another 10 minutes. Who cares? No, because I don't do 6 miles. I do 5 miles. What's the big deal to do 6 miles? Because we've created 100% for ourselves. And it's not just running. You can plug in anything over there. Whatever you're willing to do Judaism-wise, or davening-wise, or I don't know, whatever. Friendship-wise, whatever it is. I'm willing to do this, but I'm not willing to do that. This is the 100% you've created for yourself, and you're stuck in it. You found your passive, non-active state to be in, even though there is activity in it, but this is my passive state. This is not a place of exertion of the self. This is not a place where I'm going to challenge and define my own self to be more than I am. Now, a lot of people think that if I am going to challenge and define myself to be more than I am, I have to do something big and grand. I finally came to the point, well, it depends what day it is, but I finally came to the point where I realized it's not healthy always to read the stories about the people who become millionaires overnight. Because that's not true for most people. Like, oh, this person got picked up right away, their books, and then they sold it at auction for 6 figures. So happy for you. Wonderful. But that's not what happens with most people. Most people who stick with it are in a daily grind, and day after day, they got to chase down each of their readers. And they got to chase down each of those sales. Or maybe they figure out how to corner a certain kind of market. I once spoke to someone he was someone like very high ranking in one of these studios. He kept talking about this guy. He's like, yeah, I'm an overnight success, 20 years in the making. That's much more realistic. All the startup company. Everybody's got a startup company. Only Instagram sells for billions, however much it sold for. How many other startup companies did not sell for that? They didn't sell. They didn't make whatever. Or they're plodding along and they're maybe a couple $100,000 is what they're worth. We think that, if you're going to challenge yourself and overcome your nature and break out of your limitations. We always have that every Pesach. Mitzrayim is Mitzrayim, unless limitations, you got to break out of your limitations. Well, that's beautiful and I like the magnet, but what does that actually mean? What am I supposed to do with that? The day-to-day life that you live is 100%. It's the 100% that you've made for yourself. And all you have to do to break out of the 100% is you got to take one. You just need one. One step that is not usual for you. One thing that you don't usually do. That's how you break out. That's how you challenge yourself. You defy your own self. That's how you take yourself that you've been until now and you make a better self. By taking one step. It only takes one. And why only one? Because the one is not your usual habit. That 101 is not you. And what you're proving to yourself in that moment, in taking the one, and you do the 51st push-up, or you run the 6th mile, whatever it's translating to, you go for a full hour without taking the second piece of cake, whatever it's going to be, you don't buy the second pair of shoes, well, the 4th pair of shoes, the 5th pair, the 5th color, the pair of shoes, even though you want to. What you're proving to yourself right now is I don't have to do what I've been used to. I don't have to do whatever my body, whatever my 100% tells me right now. I can do one thing, one step. It's just one. What the difference between 100 and 101 is one. It's such a small number. And yet, that one is worth everything. And that one is worth everything else. It's even more than everything that you've done until now. Because with that one, you've proven to yourself that I can break out of the 100%. That I don't have to just listen to myself and no, I'm comfortable here. You make yourself a little bit uncomfortable. And it could be something tiny and something that you don't usually do. And that's all that it takes. And then you set a new 100 for yourself. You're now on the journey for your next 100. What is it? Focusing now on my second million because I've given up on the first million or something like that. That, from the Beinoni point of view, from the Tanya point of view, and for a day-to-day practical point of view, that's chapter 15. What do you mean practical tips? That's what this whole chapter is. The whole thing is a mindset. I think I know what you're looking for, but you're not going to get it because then it's not you working for it. So whatever you're resisting doing, that's probably what you got to get done. Or that's what you got to try to do differently. Or just because I know in this area I have to do a little bit more. Okay, so do it. No, but I don't want to. No, I need to trick. What do you mean, no? I don't want to. I need to trick myself. What does that mean? Figure it out. I can only tell you what the mindset should be. You know your own mind. Sometimes we get so caught up in the techniques of things that we don't actually get the stuff done. You know the people have to make 47 lists before they do something, and they spend all their time making lists, and they didn't get anything done. Some people make the one list and that organize their thoughts and they get it done. But some people spend, oh, now I have to color code the list, I have to put tabs on it, and I have to whatever, and then you just wasted all your time making lists. They actually say that certain personality types, what is it, that because they have to feel like they're accomplishing stuff, a lot of times they'll get a lot of the smaller stuff done, and they'll leave the bigger stuff for afterwards. Because I don't want to tackle the big thing right now, but I got 15 things done. But all those 15 things were smaller things. That's kind of like the way their mind works. It's like, look, I'm getting stuff done. Or you get the one big thing done and then everything else. It's not a judgment call. It's just like different kind of personalities like that. So, I don't know. The whole chapter is just about getting it in your mind that you just got to do the one more thing. What does that look like? What is it? Well, everything depends. The Alter Rebbe doesn't specify. We're in a 6th mile. He's giving us a standard program that we have to personalize it to ourselves according to who we are. The real thing is to make sure that your mind is what's in control. And that resistance that you have to your mind is not your mind being in control. As in, like, your drive, determination, your mindset being in control. You just gotta do it. You just gotta jump. It's not be big. Just do one thing. Do one thing you don't want to do. It's not very helpful, but it also is, because just stop thinking so much about it. We all know the truth. We all know what we have to do. The reason why we think so much about it is because we're trying to find a way to not have to do it. Or like, oh, if I make myself feel sad enough, I don't have to do this. Yeah, you do. We'll get to this eventually, but that's basically the whole Judaism is like that. In the sense that we're not waiting for people to become Beinonis to do mitzvahs. We're not waiting for someone to be a Tzaddik to do a mitzvah. You have to work on your self-refinement, wherever level you're on, however far you are, but you still got to do the mitzvah. Oh, but the mitzvah's imperfect, and are the right kavanah. Okay, well, this is your chance to do it, so get it done, because you're not going to get another chance to be so perfect. That's also the Rebbe's whole outlook with shlichus was even like that. Society is burning. Everything's on fire. When something's on fire, you don't have time. Let me make sure that I have the proper, you jump into the fire and you grab people out. So you're going to risk your own self-refinement to go save other people kind of thing. Einstein didn't wait for a perfect hair day to change the world. Not everything is going to align in the moment of change. I spoke to someone once. He had spoken to a guy who was an Olympic athlete. The guy was telling him that the way you train is that you got to make sure that your 80% is everybody else's 100%. Because you're going to go to the Olympic Village and something's not going to be right. You're not going to sleep well. You're in a new place. The food's going to be wrong. This, that, whatever. So many things are not going to align for you. And yet that's your chance to show up. And this is like the biggest moment of your athletic career. You've been training for this for years and years and years. And things are not going to be in your favor. So you better make sure that if you're at 80%, your 80% is everybody else's 100%. And that's how you're going to beat them, basically. It's got exactly like this. The truth of living is that we're usually not operating at 100%, unfortunately. Because not everything is exactly going our way most of the time. And our way is the way that we decide is our way. Not the way that God is. Okay, you think you know, but you don't. I know you have a lot of great ideas. You're very smart. I gave you your mind. But you don't see the full picture. So trust me on this one. Our day-to-day living is not. So we wait for 100%. Like, now I'll make a new change. Now I'll do a new thing. I think the Rebbe said about like when people take on New Year's resolutions. If it's a worthy resolution, why are you waiting for New Year's? Do it now. No. Because New Year's is when I'm going to be mentally prepared. Right? And how long does the resolution last? A week and a half? 2 maybe if you're lucky. If it's something that you got to commit, this is good to do right now. So do it. What are you pontificating for? Do it. Oh, but I won't be whatever. Fine. Just do it. It's okay. You won't be perfect this time. You make it another time. That's the tip that they give for writing. You can't edit something that's not written. Oh, but it's look terrible. I know. That's why you edit it. It's okay. You'll get to have it down. I don't know. It's a pep talk. You got to figure. It's not even a pep talk. You just got to tell yourself, stop with the nonsense and get it done. Go. Try the 6th mile. It won't be so good. Fine. You look like you're half dead. Fine. You drag yourself. Fine. Do it. Just do it. You'll have to walk part of it. Fine. Just go. And now, look what you've proved to yourself. It's really about putting your brain in the right state. That's mind over matter. It's basically what it all comes down to. How do you break a habit? How do you do anything? Mind over matter. Put your brain in control. Well, but that's the thing. You say, well, if I could do this, I could do this. You create the parallel. And the second thing is that why it's only one. You just have to do one thing. You might not achieve the ultimate on your first step. A journey of 1,000 miles began with a single step. Well, there's no journey if you didn't just walk. There's no journey unless you actually take a step. That's the thing also, is to remind ourselves, I just have to take the one step. Then once you take the one step, you're like, oh, look, I did it. I took the one step. If I can take one step, why can't I take 2 steps? Well, I could. Look, now I could probably take 3. Now 4. And the next thing you know, you took 100 steps. And you're like, look at me, I took 100 steps. I didn't think I could take 1. Ta-da! That's chapter 15!